Okay, hey, welcome to another episode journey with one-on-one with Zack Smith Photography, and I'm talking with a very old friend who I haven't seen in a long time, Saddi Khali. Say hey, Saddi.
Hey. How's everything?
Everything's good with me, man. Everything's good. I was commenting earlier, I like your setup, man. Nice and clean wall. I got a clean wall, and we're here to talk about a lot of stuff, but mostly catch up with each other and look at your photography, some of your series that you've been doing over the last couple of years. But let's just real quick catch up, man. I think the last time we might have seen each other in person was pre-Katrina or right around that. Maybe when I was doing stuff at Canary Gallery on Julia, or doing something with just some of my old like musician portraits and stuff, and you were doing a lot of writing.
Right.
And, catch me up just a little bit, man. I know you're in Miami now, but what about in between?
Well, so while I was doing writing, it was kind of at the emergence of slam poetry. And slam poetry was kind of this emerging form that wasn't as inspirational to me personally. I used poetry as a tool for healing, whether it be my own or other people, as opposed to kind of a tool for battle or something like that. And so I was getting uninspired, and I told a writing mentor that I was interested in trying photography. And he leaned back and took an old Pentax K1000 off the shelf, dusted it off, and handed it to me. And I started buying film, and at the time there was Eckerd Drugs, so I would go to Eckerd Drugs and get my film developed. And then some homies of mine found a camera off of somewhere, a digital camera, a Nikon D1. So I paid them for the D1. It took me 3 months to figure out how to turn it on because I needed a charger, Yeah. So I did that and just started shooting everything. And then Katrina happened, and I was displaced to Brooklyn. And so let me go back. While I was shooting everything, I saw this book called Black Ladies by a photographer named Uwe Omer, and another one called Soul by Thierry Legois. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. And both of these books were images of Black models, African models, supermodels, and stuff like that, nude. And so I saw this, and I'm like, okay, I'll try this too. I just wanted to shoot everything, really. Yeah. But I don't know any supermodels, so I started just photographing women I knew or women I was dating or whatever, and I started kind of seeing their responses to the work that I was doing, to seeing themselves captured in a way that said they were beautiful, even though maybe because their beauty might not be traditional beauty, that normally things that shooting them in ways that showed a certain care and a certain intimacy and stuff like that. And the response was really powerful,
So let me ask you this. So you're coming to a very intimate style of photography, photographing women, but coming to it from a very novice background. You weren't some fashion photographer saying like, pose this, pose that, and you're not putting these pre-concepts on them. You're just letting them be them, but you're learning at the same time, right?
Right.
So it's like this kind of, y'all came at it from two similar places, it sounds like, right?
Right. It was just discovery, just discovering it together, discovering, I would put the camera in manual mode and just adjust certain things and continue to shoot maybe the same shot 10 times, just really finding out what the camera would do, discovering that it was powerful and kind of cathartic to be seen, to feel seen, as opposed to being made to fit into whatever the standard was. Just be yourself, and let me photograph it. So I was kind of at the beginnings of this. I was going around town looking for mentors or groups of photographers, because in writing, I had collectives and mentors and so on and so forth, workshops and stuff like that. But the photography world in the city at the time was different, and it felt a bit more competitive, which was what I was getting away from in what was emerging in the writing. So at the time, it was MySpace was the social media platform, and I started putting images on MySpace and asking for public critique. Yeah. And people would say what they thought, and I would actually internalize what they said and build upon it. And then this decolonizing beauty thing basically built itself around me. And then Katrina happened, and I was displaced to Brooklyn. And I went up there with a little book sack with some journals in it, and this D1, which I didn't realize at the time was broken. It had that banding that happens with cameras sometimes.
K1000. Did you still have the K1000?
I don't know where that was.
Better camera.
It was definitely the better camera, but it was so much more expensive to.
Oh yeah, film.
And then not only was it expensive, but I had to wait to get the images developed. So I go up there. I had bought some lights and stuff in New Orleans. All of that stuff was gone, and so I'm like, I'm gonna just use this window in this big brownstone I was staying in. Use the window light until I make enough money to get lights. What I didn't realize was that so many other people were using lights that my not having lights became a strength and gave the images a certain feeling and mood that was very different from the studio lighting. So people started asking me to photograph them. And I started touring with a theater show that was people who had survived Katrina, writing about their experiences, and then traveling around the places where people had been displaced and doing the performance for them, and then sharing a meal and talking and so on and so forth. And while I was touring, people would be like, "Oh, you're going to be in this city. Can I book you?" Yeah. So I went to Chicago once. I photographed this young lady, and she really enjoyed the images. And by the end of the shoot, she was asking, when could we shoot again? And I was like, well, I'm touring, so I probably won't be coming back this way. And she said, if I start a Facebook group and organize other people to book you, would you come?
Wow. And so crowdfunding before crowdfunding.
Before crowdfunding, yeah. And I said, sure, if it's 10 or more, sure. Yeah. I went, she started the group. I went to Chicago and photographed 20 people in this one trip. And so after that, anybody who asked, I said, just start a group. And now there's more than 50 groups worldwide. And for 10 years straight, I just went from group to group, city to city, country to country, photographing these groups.
Well, look, before you go on some more, I want to
Okay.
get visual context to what you're photographing right here.
Okay.
So I'm going to share my screen, and I have a couple of images up right here. I'm not sure where this one falls in, but this image right here caught me as something very alike in what you're talking about. This image right here has a woman naked walking out on a fallen tree. So the context of that, and the metaphor of trust of your subject or your collaborator, just trusting that it's going to be all right, and walking out onto this ledge and you photographing her. I see this in a lot of your work. So was this one of your clients? Was this?
This was one of my clients. This was actually in Miami, on a trip to Miami. And this is at a public park. So she had on a kimono.
Okay.
And we're off in the bushes somewhere, and people would walk past. We put on a kimono, sit and talk. When they passed, we would figure out some other thing to do. And she was from the area. She knew the park. She picked the place.
Yeah.
And she was, because I was also kind of afraid, like, are you sure you want to do this? You know, because sometimes I'm not like, okay, pose like this. We just find it together, you know. And so she's walking out on this log, and I'm a bit concerned. And she's teasing me, saying, I'm Jamaican. This is, you know, this is normal, basically. You know, walking on logs or whatever it was. This was not something that was a new thing for her. So I shot it. The scene really was not, when I see it, I marvel a bit, because this was definitely not as beautiful. It didn't look as beautiful in person as it does in this image, you know.
That's rare when the multi-sensory experience is not as great as the final, because you're smelling, you're feeling, you're
right.
breathing, you're touching.
No, this was mosquitoes and you know, stinky water and whatever, but it turned out to look like paradise, you know.
Well, as we go look at a few more of these images, I think that our viewers are going to see a little bit more about your style. And let's bring that window light in. I know this probably is at their house or somewhere. This isn't at your brownstone.
No, this is
that window light to kind of fall over the subject, right?
Right. This is in Central Florida, at a place called Lake Wales, Florida. I was in Florida for, what's the college's name? It's a college. I'm sorry, the name is escaping me right now. That I was their inaugural artist in residence.
Cool.
And so folks in Central Florida saw that I was there and started booking me there. So this is really in the hotel room of my Ramada Inn, or whatever the place it was that I was staying in. Yeah.
It really doesn't matter, because the locations you have are unique, because that they give you the light you need, you work with it well, but in a lot of the cases, it's about the trust that you're creating with your subjects in a way that's all I see as a photographer. I'm very technical. I'm always wanting to know what type of light you're using. What kind of lens did he use? All this geeky stuff. But when I see your work, I see this thing that I want. I see a connection on a different level. I see a trust on a different level. And the fact that this couple are engaged in a kiss, and their little baby is connecting with you. They trust you enough.
Right.
And the kid trusts you. So, like, can you tell me how you, like, so from what we know about the Facebook groups and people finding you, What happens between that, you being a stranger to this moment where it's like you're a member of the family? How do you get there?
Well, unfortunately, we live in a place, we as people, but Black people specifically, live in a place where with the constant feeling of not being safe, with a constant element of danger or something unjust occurring. And we have to, that's our normal. So we have to be normal while this is happening. So most of us have not been in spaces where we feel safe enough to trust people, where we feel comfortable enough to be ourselves and not be judged. And so these spaces are almost like piloting what safety looks like on you, what trust looks like, is creating a vision board for what you look like when there's nothing against you and nothing to defend, So when I share my images online, I usually put some words under, and that's where the writing background, I guess, comes back into it. To basically to help folks contextualize what they're seeing, because in a place where things have mostly been yucky for you, then it's easy for your mind to find the yuck in stuff. And through the words, contextualizing stuff, and through language about the work that I'm doing, as I was discovering what I'm doing, people started seeing, one of the things that I would hear a lot was, she looks like me. She looks like me, but she looks so confident, or she looks so comfortable, or
People want that.
People want that.
Want that feeling. And something you said about when you talked about Black people not feeling that comfort of like security, or not feeling not feeling that they can maybe relax,
right,
and be seen as they want to be seen. And you're picking up on this, but that's the message through the images. And it's like a language that me as a white person, I pick up on your context through your words and your images. And that's the beautiful thing about photography, is that you and I can look at one picture and get two different meanings from it.
Right.
And that's why I love your work. That's why I've always loved your work with this series, is that there's not a lot of Black photographers I follow or look at that approach this subject matter so honestly and openly. And I feel like I'm going to school on a lesson that I've never been taught. And that's just me speaking from the heart right there.
I appreciate that, man. I think most of the power in this is the collective not knowing. I don't, because I wasn't trained, because everything is kind of intuitive and just trial and error. I don't go in with an ego of like, okay, I'm the boss of this, you do what I say. It's more like, let's just find it together. And, the universe has provided more beauty than we can manufacture, even with every technology. So if we just allow it, it's gonna show itself. And if we're both vulnerable enough to be open to allowing it, then the beauty is just in being.
But that takes so much practice, man. Like that really, as a photographer, the photography, you said it earlier, it's high competitive nature. I'm the dog. I say, this is my lighting. You sit there, smile, act natural,
right?
Relax. That doesn't warrant itself for a place of two equals. But
right,
it could really use some of that. you know?
Yeah, well, that's also the benefit of going to certain photographers and them not being helpful meant that I didn't learn their way, you know. And so it allowed me the space to just be like, look, I don't know what whoever they is do, but you know, I have my own lane. This lane was created around me. I can't say I'm the, you know, the master of this lane or whatever.
Yeah.
We're just gonna come in here and be vulnerable together, you know. And the real work is in helping people be vulnerable, you know.
Yeah. And enjoy the beauty of themselves.
And enjoy the beauty of themselves, which
Man,
which for many of us has never happened before, you know, because growing up in a place where you are not the beauty standard, then even the closest people to you who have been indoctrinated in another standard compare you to that standard all the time. And so you find yourself trying to adjust to the standard as opposed to being celebrated just the way you are, you know?
yeah. And I look at an image like this, and again, as I said before, I'm usually that technical guy, but in this way, in this image, I'm just looking, like, I hear the music. I see the movement. I'm trying to see the move before and the move after, and just the simplicity of it, man. And then I go to my technical guy, you know,
Right.
and I'm like, man, it's not something I normally do, shoot into a window. And we've seen two like that.
Right.
And like,
Right.
that would be the last thing I do. But as I like get over my photo prejudice, and I'm like, okay, let's shoot into the window. What you're doing is, with a dark black body,
Right.
you're creating the silhouette of shape. And shape has a lot to do with your work, because as I look at another image right here, as we talk about it, shape has a lot to do with just your abstract nature, but also how you do light. So our light source is coming in from their front and like our left, but we're just looking at shape. We don't see eyes. We don't see movement. We just see shape. So
and we cannot get this. The next shot, the cloud left and the sun came out, and so I cannot duplicate this. You know, it's all in the vulnerability of the moment, all in the magic of whatever's happening. This woman was standing behind the man and moved her finger, you know, and I just happened to catch it. Yeah. And so
it's so good, because like some of these images, now that we talk about it, it's like, okay, so you're having people, here's your window light. The window's behind you, right? Yeah. So you can see the catch light in his eyes, but like this kind of light, you can just let people be.
Right.
And talking about one woman or a man and a woman and a man and a man, you're just kind of saying, you do you, and I'm going to be here to witness this.
Right. And I'm sure sometime in their relationship, they've put their arms around each other before.
Yeah.
In the nude, but rarely, maybe never, had they gotten to do that with somebody else witnessing it in a way that was inobtrusive, you know. And so I am moving back and forth between talking to them and encouraging their vulnerability and melting into the background and just allowing them to be. And sometimes I'll say, oh, move over here because the light's over here, or I'll move your face forward because the shadow is, you know, consuming your details or whatever. But mostly it's just, just playing together. Just sometimes there'll be people who will lay down and fall asleep while I'm shooting them, and which is to me one of the greatest compliments, because if there's a person in the room with a camera and you fall asleep, you are really comfortable,
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah. So, so much of it is probably the safety that I've longed to feel, providing that safety for others, the space to be, discover and recover whatever is me, hiding underneath the armor that I've had to don my whole life, and to help people not only take that armor off, but to show them what they look like without it, is a powerful thing. And so much of our need to keep the danger out unintentionally keeps a lot of the sweetness out as well. So to be able to remove it and allow some of the sweetness in without the element of danger as something to contend with is it's just a powerful thing to go through, experience.
The camera, I've always felt it, for me personally, it's been this tool that allows me to communicate with people, places, and things all over the world, and then in my backyard, in a way that I would never be able to communicate with them before. It's my language barrier. It's my cultural barrier. It's the thing that, bridge, the thing that brings me over to talk with them. And as a tool, that's worked with me to help tell stories, whether I'm being hired by a tourism brand or an agency or the person or the family. I'm using the camera to communicate. But at the same time, when I put the camera up in front of my face, I'm not an observer anymore. I'm a director, whether I like it or not. And so I have to kind of put my own thing aside as far as, what I bring to the situation, because I could put myself in that picture and I don't want to. So I say that for me, and you mentioned something that the camera can heal. The camera is it's a tool that helps go in the past and like break down your armor. I thought that was pretty cool, man. So it's got these components of like therapy, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what it is. And that's why therapists send their clients to me, is because there is the thought process of therapy, and then there's the doing therapy. And the act of therapy is doing the things that you've talked about and laying on the couch or whatever it is, the traditional therapy method. With me, you come in and you do it. You actually pilot, you actually trial and error what being vulnerable looks like, what this issue that you may have based on some awful thing that happened to you. You get to see through the back of my camera how you carry that in the world. And we talk about it, and you get to say, well, what happens if you relax that part of your face? This thing that you always do, what happens if you don't do that? And then I get to show you
look like
right,
totally relaxed,
right. And then I get to show you, and you get to say, wow, whoa, like I've never seen me that way or whatever. Because normally cameras unless you are a person who is, kind of exhibitionist or an outgoing person, then cameras can be a bit difficult because there's a way we are taught to be. Say cheese, and then you smile, and then you stop, go back to yourself. So most people like these candid photos of themselves.
Yeah.
Well, how can we capture candid photos that are not actually candid, you know, that are us intentionally capturing them, you know, I'm there, but you feel whatever it is enough to just be yourself anyway. And that's that's a work thing. We're working because in the beginning, this is a stranger I've never met before. They've never met me.
Yeah.
I'm potentially going into a space I've never been in before. And we're just freestyling the moment together and then fine tuning it, you know, as we go.
Yeah. You're open to experimentation.
Definitely.
Going in there, a clean slate. And this is one image that I love right here, man. I look at this and I'm like, man, they're having fun now. Like
right.
they're like, you're moving a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She's moving. You're facing that window again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you're creating that silhouette on the dark skin, and you're
mm-hmm.
dragging that shutter a little bit.
Right.
And, it's not like a lot of your pictures. Like a lot of your pictures are very, I'd say, very clean.
Mm-hmm.
Very, you know where the light's coming from. It's about the person. This is one where I see a little bit of Saddi.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
You know, is this you experimenting with your own creativity right here too?
Yes, which almost always happens throughout the session. But this, the subject was somebody that I knew for years and years, and so we had more of a rapport, and so we could just play, you know. And for me, it may be I don't know, deprecating or whatever, but I just go in with the space of feeling like I don't know what I'm doing. And so I'm going to just try everything. And with this, we tried it. There was a few of these that didn't look so great. And this one happened to look good. And
how it goes, man. You got to mess up 100 times to get that one sometimes. And then next time you hope you only mess up 50 times to get the one.
Right.
20 times. And next time you're doing this instinctually.
Right.
Yeah, man, I love these. And, it kind of, as we're looking at your images, your website's on the bottom. So I'm going to give your information at the end of it so people can follow what you're doing, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. And just with any artist as yourself, there's always something else. And there's a series that I want to look at right now. And if I look confused, I am, because I'm on my desktop and it's a mess.
Okay. Also,
I don't edit anything out, so
it's cool.
That's how it goes.
My site is not active right now because I was being bombarded with people trying to book me for the decolonizing beauty stuff, and I've been expanding what I do. So send them to my Instagram, which is Saddi Khali Photos, and the site will be back up in a month or two.
I'll put that at the end. But right now I want to share this right here in this context. Is this part of the Time Done series?
This is part of the Time Done series, which is based on this issue where people who have had felonies or done a certain types of crime, when they've finished their sentence, there was still all of these things that they can't do. They can't vote. They can't this. They can't that. They can't get a license to do whatever. And so it's like, I've paid my time. I've done my time. Let me get back to my life. And so this was a campaign that the organization Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice, which is a national organization that originated or is based in Oakland. So I did a national project photographing different people who were involved in the time done work. And I haven't kept up with it. I think they passed some laws in California or something to change, to give folks, more access to their own lives and to the ability to do better after doing their time.
Well, you mentioned something, and just real quick to the power of your work. Your words and your images are done for the people, especially your portraits of couples and the intimacy there. It's done for them, and they do what they want with it and whatnot. It's powerful, but like your work in the hands of the right organization or the right message can be and is powerful already. So with that time done, because what you just said, man, just reminded me of just what's going on right now with this, in the United States. And I don't say America because there's South America too. This is the United States, this shit's happening. With this reckoning of racial inequality and the ability to try to use a national crisis to maybe see through the lens of someone else. So for me to see through the lens and the mind of another person, and to practice humility, and to understand that when someone gets out of jail, they're free from the bars, those physical bars, but they still have a longer road to be connected as a citizen, as a person of the community. And it's like, as I try to put myself in other people's shoes here, I can't ever have the experience of the Black American because I'm not. And you think about someone getting released from jail and being free is like saying slavery was over the day the Emancipation Proclamation happened.
Right.
And that's saying that the civil rights issue was done, but when the Jim Crow era started.
Right.
And to say that 2020, we should all be equal is kind of a farce. It's kind of like not even stepping in what it's like. So your work here just said, it makes me see that, man, not everything is what we read. There's still so much behind that. And like, how do you approach, coming from your perspective, from being you're from New Orleans originally? Your family's
well, my family's from New Orleans. I was actually born in New York, in Queens, but I was back in New Orleans by the time I was 1. So I'm definitely, my family's from New Orleans. I'm from New Orleans, yes.
Yeah, and I'm trying to put in context of what you bring with your camera to the story of race and justice, and where you're at with where we are right now in this country, without a loaded question for you right now.
Right.
Still looking at your Time Done series.
Well, what America, the whole of America, is getting to see is something that's been there since slavery brought us here, brought us back to this country. So there's been this thing that's happening that if you didn't live this life, you may never know that this stuff is an everyday part of people's lives, that people have to survive, that the people you walk past every day or work with or whatever are dealing with something that is so formidable, so systematically then I would live in a more loving community, you know.
You said one thing right there that that resonates with me with photography is that intention, having an intention with photography. I think you could apply this to any art form. Having an intention is having a why. If you have a why, when you pick up a camera, you're able to connect more with the present moment. If you don't have a why, you're just out there willy-nilly shooting, and you hope to get a picture. And you know, as people watch this, you know, you look at your images and look at us talk. It's like if you have the why, that's the start of a conversation. And you've even said in your own work, sometimes you show up and you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. We're just going to go with it. But you've got the why.
I got the why.
I got the intention, and it's right here.
Yeah.
But you trust that the outcome is going to be something that's shared. It's going to be something that's intentional, but you're not planning it. It's just you're going to end up where you end up, and it's like, you got to be happy with that.
Right. But we do start with the collective why. And
with you and your subjects. Okay.
Me and my,
beautiful.
Yeah. And that, you know, doing nothing together with intention.
That's great.
Yeah. has a value. And, you know, everything not everything, but so many things in a society that says you're supposed to be, you know, you go to school to get taught that things are like this, and it's basically being socialized and indoctrinated with the way of being. And oftentimes that way of being is not comfortable to you. It's not suited for you. But you have been taught that you have to make it work within the confines of that thing. And the beauty of the situation that a lot of white people find themselves in is they have less people telling them how they're supposed to be, and they have the space to find what works for them. And so, you know, seeing your work and seeing one, I love your technical prowess. And because you're taking images of people that I know, I can see you capture them in ways that I wish I knew how to capture them, you know. But for me, in my, you know, the way I was trained outside of photography was that there was not such African concept for art's sake. That art had a everyday use and a practical purpose for the people it impacted. And so in every art form I've practiced, there has always been the why that you spoke of. And I'm just changing the language or the tool through which to communicate, but the why has been a constant. So, but the desire is also to disregard the supposed to be's that have been imposed, and discover what's my own thing, what's my own purpose in the world. Well, you know, what's my way of finding the joy, the wealth, the ease that we all want in life, you know.
Man, you know, we could sit here and talk forever, because I keep thinking of these things you just made me think. Disregard the supposed to be's and explore the what ifs.
For sure. For sure.
Whenever I sit and talk with you, it's like you make my mind expand and explore. And that's what conversation should be about. That's what photography should make us do. And I'm going to, you know, I think I'm setting records here on this one-on-one. So we're going to we're gonna wrap it up right here. But is there anything you want to add to this conversation? I'm gonna put your Instagram link on the end of this. But yeah, man, I really appreciate your time. Is there anything you wanted to add?
I definitely want to say that I appreciate you having me on the one-on-one. You were and still are somebody who has been an inspiration to me. And so for you to let me know that you wanted me to have to be on this venue, you know, I'm very appreciative. Two, one of the things that I always loved about you is that you have just only been cool. You know, there was never some stuff in it. It was just cool. And that's been consistent. And we haven't talked in maybe 15 to 20 years, and it's still there. Yeah. And all of us need to know and need to, you know, be intentional about finding our cool and just being cool. You know, there's all this stuff that we have in our lives, but ultimately we just want to be cool with each other. We just want to love and to help each other find our cool, you know. So I appreciate you, man. I hope folks get something out of your doing this, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you.
I think they will, man. And I really appreciate your time. And we're going to sign off. See you next time.